At KSMO Radio, your hometown radio station, we welcome you to Tuesday, January 10th. It happens to be the second Tuesday of the year. Well, normally we just say the month, but it's the year.
It is, second Tuesday of the year.
And Heather has graced us with her presence. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Did you have a good one?
We did, yep.
You and the kids went sleigh riding? Probably not. There's no snow.
There's no snow. Nope.
Wasn't even really all that cold on New Year's.
No.
Not terribly cold.
It wasn't too
A
bad.
little cold. Very good. So good. So anyway, it's a new year. And, man, everything is brand new. Totally changed. No, we're lying about that.
I was going to say, what is that? I missed something.
Yeah, you blinked. No, what we have is the good old junior essay contest coming up. And I mean to tell you, we're not going to hesitate. We're diving right into that situation right now.
Yeah. And we've been to Salem School last week. And hopefully your student came and listened. They did it a little different than most schools. They called a announcement or whatever. If you're interested in writing an essay for Intercounty, please come to hear the presentation. So hopefully your student came and listened, but even if they didn't, they are still eligible. We left extra brochures. They are there. You can always reach out to us and we'll get you some information. But that brochure's on our website, and we've also got information in the magazine this month. It'll be in there again next month. But we will get you the information. We just really want your junior to write that essay.
How many kids showed up?
Well, I was gone last Wednesday.
Oh,
so
you weren't
Karen
there.
and Vanessa went over. But they said there was a good sized group, like classroom sized. But you guys over here have got a big graduating class. I mean, usually.
Yeah, 140, I think.
Yeah, so we were missing probably over 100.
Well, if the ones that showed up give you the essay that we need,
right,
that will be plenty.
Right. They did say we had lots of questions. The students had questions, so I think there was real interest there. Last year, come on, Salem, we were a little disappointed, so hopefully this year's a turnaround and we've got some participation. But it is an option that's an opportunity just for juniors. It's a high school junior opportunity. It is an essay contest, and we lose a little bit of attention when you start out with that, because the thought of them having to write an essay, they don't want to do it. But it's very short, and we try to stress to them that 250 to 500 words, you can meet that word requirement in a page. This does not take them
15 minutes.
It does not take them a long time to do. And we kind of talked a little bit at the end of the show last month, but this year we're asking the students to write about what they would do for their local community if they had unlimited funds. If money was not an object and you could do anything you could for your community, what would you do? And so I'm hoping that the topic will maybe encourage them in itself to write the essay, just because it's not a research paper, and that's what we try to stress to them. It's not a research paper. There's not a right or wrong answer. You don't have to have a minimum number of sources that you're citing. This is, you write about what pops in your head when you think about what your community needs. So hopefully there's good participation. I'm encouraged that there were students that came down and asked questions and were interested.
Maybe, just maybe, and I'm just spouting this off, okay? But as you mentioned, as soon as you start mentioning, it's like schoolwork.
Right.
They get turned off. Well, why don't we mention, like, how would you like to go to Washington, D.C. for free?
Yeah. Right.
And it won't take you but 15 minutes, and you'll have that chance to do that. Yeah. Would you be interested in doing that? Or if you can't go to D.C., how about going to your state government in Jefferson City?
Yeah.
For free.
And that's a big thing. And we talked to the kids about, of course, we talked to them about the trips. They're fantastic opportunities. But we talked to them, too, about they're going to go on these trips the summer before their senior year. Senior year starts, and it's college application time. It's scholarship application time. If they're going to go straight into the workforce after high school, then it's job application, resumes.
Gosh, you make it sound depressing.
No, it's not depressing. It's busy.
It is a busy
and
time.
there's a lot of
it is.
there's a lot.
And it goes by super fast.
It does go by
Senior year.
super fast. And a lot of these, well, the scholarships, but schools and jobs, it's competitive. You have to stand out amongst other candidates, no matter what it is that you're applying for. And when you can list something like being awarded the youth tour trip, that helps them stand out. That helps them get noticed and hopefully helps them receive the job or the scholarship or whatever it might be. And so we encourage them, let this be more than just a really fun summer trip. And, you know, we talked, I think last year, about Athena Hood, our delegate from 2018 from Licking. She went on to be the single delegate that represented Missouri, the YLC. She went to the Youth Leadership Council. Each state elects one person out of their student group. And this past summer, she was able to intern at Josh Hawley's office out in D.C. because of the connections she made and her experience with Youth Tour. So it is able to be more than just a really fun summer trip if you want it to. And we tell the kids too, if that's all you want it to be, then you're going to have a fantastic time. And it's an incredible trip and an incredible opportunity. And like you said, they are free. Both trips are free. We send the students out to D.C. in June for a week, and the D.C. student or the Jeff City students go in July, and that's a 3-day trip. And I'll tell you, Stan, a lot of the students that end up going to Jeff City, they're a little disappointed that they didn't win the DC trip.
I would.
I mean,
too.
that's what you're
mean,
competing for.
yeah.
You write this essay, and the way the process works, you write the essay, you turn it into the contact person at your school, which most schools it's either the junior English teacher or the counselor. And then what they do is they will remove those names, number the essays, and then they select a panel of staff there from the school, and the school narrows it down to the top 3. Once we get the top 3 essays, those students should be super excited because we give away 1 trip to DC and 2 to Jeff City. So at that point, they know they've won something. And then they start to study. We send them a question and answer packet with some information about the co-op and electric co-ops in general. And then they will interview, which again is one of those intimidating. You mean I got to write an essay and do an interview?
Wow.
But
It's almost like real life.
I know, yeah, a little bit.
wow.
But for a lot of these students, it is their first
It is their
interview.
first time.
And they are nervous, but we try to stress to them, the judges that are doing the interview, most of them are retired school teachers. They want to see these kids do well. They're not there to just grill them and break them down. And I think that's sort of what they expect because they're just so nervous. But they'll go into that interview, they're asked 5 questions out of that booklet, and then how well they do in the interview then determines if they will be awarded the DC trip or the Jeff City trips. And there is a little bit of disappointment when they don't win the DC one because that's the top prize, that's what you're competing for. But that Jeff City trip is really remarkable in itself.
It's a great trip.
It is a great trip. Again, it's free. There's not a cost for that. And we hear every year those kids come back and they are so fired up. And 2 things that we hear. Number 1, they had no idea what they won until they got out there, and they're so glad that they went. But number 2, they wish it was longer. You know, and we've shared that with our statewide office. They're the ones that coordinate that. And I think students from other co-ops have shared the same thing. So that's something they're looking at, maybe being able to add an extra day.
That'd be great.
But this is more than... It's more than a trip to your state capital. And I think that's what it gets viewed as. And they remember, well, in such and such grade.
I drove through Jeff City. I didn't see anything.
Right. Or I went to the state capitol with my school field trip already. I've seen it. And that's not all it is. We do tour the state capitol, but you get to sit on the House floor and work through the process of a bill becoming a law. It's similar to Boys and Girls State in that aspect. It's much more hands-on. We teach the kids about leadership. We have, last year we had Casey Wolf, the Kansas City Chiefs mascot, came and sort of gave his testimony, and a very motivational man. And
Was he dressed up as the wolf?
He brought his costume.
No,
Yep.
I know, but did
Yep.
he give the speech as the wolf?
No.
I was going to say that.
No,
Might take a little bit away from that.
He did bring that.
He's a very intelligent man.
He is, and he had a very major injury that caused him to kind of reflect on his life and his choices to be happy and move on every day, or just kind of wallow in your own sorrows. And very motivational. Really great speaker, opportunity for the kids to meet him and have their pictures taken with him. But also, they were able to tour the state penitentiary, which
that's cool.
Is really neat. We had really good feedback from that. We have an evening where we do a barbecue in the park, and the kids get to just kind of hang out. And
I thought you meant a barbecue at the penitentiary.
no, barbecue at the park.
Not sure.
But just, there's more to that trip than just, we're going to walk through single file line through the state capitol like they did when they were in 8th grade.
Oh, yeah.
And we really want to encourage those students that win that trip to go, because what we see a lot of times is if they don't win the DC trip, then the Jeff City trip is unfilled because they don't end up going, which is a real shame. So this year we're trying to sweeten the deal a little bit. The kids that go to DC, and both these trips are free, but as you might imagine, out in DC, there are some opportunities to buy some souvenirs.
You have to bring something home.
So when the students arrive for the trip, before we send them out, we're going to give them $200 cash that they can take out there with them. They can spend it if they want to out there. They can bring it back home. They can hand it off to their parent before they even leave on the trip. I mean, that's completely up to them. That is cash for them. The Jeff City trip, it is a shorter trip. There's not as many opportunities for souvenirs, but we know that these kids worked really hard too. So we will give them $100 cash to do with what they want when they show up for the trip as well.
It's good stuff. Now, on my opinion, which means nothing, but when you have an opportunity to learn something like this, to see something as part of history, sometimes I think the younger generation loses sight of that. We're so wrapped up in our phones, and I can see it on my phone. When actually
and we hear that.
Yeah, I took the tour of the state penitentiary. Of course, I like history, so knowing that James Earl Jones has gone through there and done staying, knowing that there's a number of different people who are in there that I was aware of, and you go through there and you talk to about that. James Earl Jones did a wonderful piece on this, and in his booming voice, and you got James Earl Ray, and I mean it's just so close to the name, who, when shot Martin Luther King, escaped from the prison.
I was going to say, got out, and they don't even tell you how he got out. Now, you can go find out, but his cellmate was the brother of our neighbor. Oh, wow.
In St. Louis. So, and they asked him where he was, and he just played dumb. I don't have any idea where he knew exactly where he was going. Knew exactly what he was doing. Now, this is, you got to go back into the 60s, times were different. Of course, I never knew about this until later on in my life, but when they told me his roommate's name, I said, gosh, that's the name of my neighbor. I want to go down to ask him. I said, oh, yeah, that's my dad's brother.
Oh, my.
So you learn little things about it, but there's other little things about the penitentiary. It's really cool. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but definitely while you're there, walk around it. Don't just go where the tour is. Walk around where the ball field is, stuff of that nature, because it's on the back side. You won't even see it if you don't go try and find it. You got to go on the back side, take a look at it with the high walls and the different things, and the ball field just sit there. They see where the guys used to go play ball and different things of that nature, and the old gymnasiums down on the side and stuff. It's just stuff not part of the tour that you're going to walk through, and they're going to guide you through it, but you're more than welcome to walk down there and check things out. So that's what I also mean by the tour. Just because you're going to the state capitol doesn't mean you can't go and explore a little bit.
Right.
Take a look at, just don't go up to this normal thing. If you ever go to U.S. Capitol, when these kids go, you don't just look at it and walk through the middle and stop and say, what a great place, and then walk out. You got to go to the first Supreme Court room. You need to go see, you need to explore a little bit and find out what it's all about, and walk out on the steps and take a look down, look at the wonderful connection, how Washington, D.C. is put together, and be amazed how somebody actually with the foresight and putting
To
everything
plan
in
that.
line. Pretty amazing.
It is amazing.
So I hope the kids, when they go, they take, maybe even do a little searching, do a little research. Check out State Penitentiary in Missouri. What happened there? How many times why was it considered the worst prison in the United States at one time? Pretty nasty.
Yeah.
And then they had to update it.
I would say.
No, it was,
Yeah.
it definitely had seen better days. There's no doubt about it. But it is intimidating. It'll get your attention when you get locked in one of those rooms.
Yeah.
You would definitely know. But there's a lot of neat things about these trips that I hope the kids understand. It's a free trip, but it's a way for you to educate yourself by being there, doing it, touching it, feeling it, knowing that it really does exist, not looking at it on a phone or in a book or on a movie somewhere that you say, man, that's out of reach. I'll never get there.
And I'll tell you something that we're getting a lot of questions on this year and last year also. And I can't help but think this is post-COVID concerns. The students are really worried about leaving without and going without a parent to Jeff City or to DC. They want to be able to take a parent with them, or can I take somebody that I know? There's just a real fear of going and leaving the safety of their little hometown and being sort of on their own. Now, we're not going to leave them on their own, but if you're a parent and you're listening, please encourage your child to write this essay and go. And it might be scary for you too to kind of let go and let them go on this trip, but it's a huge opportunity. And I promise you they will make friends very fast. All the students are in the same boat. We send one student from each of our 9 high schools, but other co-ops in the state do their programs differently. We're really fortunate to have a winner at each school because most co-ops, they will hold the competition amongst all juniors in their service area, and then they all compete amongst each other, and then there may only be 2 or 3 winners that go. So Intercounty is really fortunate. Our board is very supportive of our youth and the youth tour program, so we're really thankful for that. But these students, none of them really, they might know someone from another school, or if like one of the other co-ops, maybe the top 2 were both from the same school, so they might know each other. But for the most part, nobody really knows anybody. And they're all going out there and experiencing this together, which is really why they make friends so quickly and why they bond so fast. But we'll send around 110 Missouri will out to DC, and they will stay together during the trip. Co-op employees are chaperones. We have nurses. This has been over 50 years, I think 55 years. So well-oiled machine. We will take care of those kids. Jeff City's the same way. There's around 100 students that go. We take care of them while we're out there. We're not gonna just let them
run wild.
So please encourage them to go and let them let them go.
It's a great way for these kids to mature. They are going to be seniors the next year. They are going to need to start showing that maturity as they graduate from high school. They're not going to have mommy and daddy or some sibling backing them up all the time if they go off to college or trade school. It's not there. This is a great way, though, when you get out there. Here's the neat thing about going on those trips. Every one of them has something unique that they all have done. They all won that contest. How did you do it? What did you say on your essay? What was your essay about? They can start the conversation right there and then just let it go.
Yeah. Yep. And the first night, especially for the DC trip, these kids are going to be spending a whole week together. We spend the first night in Columbia. We provide transportation up there. They meet the other 100 students. They meet their roommates. We have some icebreaker games, which nobody is ever really excited to start. But then once the ball gets kind of rolling, they realize, hey, I'm going to be all right. And this is going to be fun. And me and you're going to be friends. And tomorrow morning we get to go to DC.
Yes.
So it kind of helps break the ice a little bit to be able. They meet the chaperones, they get their final agenda, and kind of just pumped up for the trip and know what to expect. And And it's good. It's good. Jeff City will start out with a little icebreaker activity so that the kids kind of get loosened up and get to talking and meet the other students. But both trips, really great. I know there's hesitation with these kids. I know that there's probably hesitation with the parents, but please encourage them to write the essay. Very little effort for a huge prize. I mean, the DC trip is valued at around $3,000, and that's
4,000.
I mean, that was last year. Well, so
probably closer to 5 now.
I mean, the cost of everything is really just increasing, and to be able to send your student out to the nation's capital for free, they're not having to do fundraisers, you're not having to pitch in money, and they're under the supervision and the guidance of electric co-op personnel.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. It really is.
And it can lead to something pretty good.
It can.
It can. For example, we have a new chairman of our House Ways and Means Committee. He went on that trip.
Yeah,
Jason Smith from Salem went on that Washington trip, and it changed his life. And he'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It changed his life, and now he's the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. It took him a couple of years to get there. But still, without that first blast of
exposure to political science and government, and
he may have gone a whole different path. Who knows? But instead, he's up now, chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. That's not bad for a little boy from a town of 4,900.
Yep. And we hear, I think, I know Robert Ross, he went on the cycle trip, and I think Hannah Kelly, she may have went on youth tour cycle when she was a junior also. But just, it sparks an interest in some kids that didn't realize that might be something they're interested in.
Sure.
And I go back to what I said in the beginning. If all they want it to be is just a really fun trip in the summer, you're going to get a really fun free trip in the summer. And that's okay if that's all it ends up being. But I promise you're going to make connections. And social media has really made it a lot easier with the kids. They stay in touch. AMEC, our statewide organization, they are working to sort of form an alumni group because
that'd be a good idea.
These kids are on their own trying to stay in touch and plan get-togethers afterwards, and we just want to make sure that, hey, let's provide a safe space for them to do that if they do want to get back together, the summer after they graduate.
20-year reunion.
Yeah, and helps us know, too, like, hey, what would have been better? Or, what was your favorite part? What should we definitely not change? What could we change? But keeping that relationship with them, I think, is going to be really beneficial. And a lot of them have told us, last year's students especially, they've come back and they've been like, when I graduate, can I get a job at the co-op? And that makes us happy because we love to see these kids that come back just really motivated about their future. It's super encouraging. And I'll tell you, if that's something that your student's interested in, is a job in the co-op industry, whether they stay local. I mean, there's co-ops across the nation. So if their resume includes they were awarded the youth tour
you betcha
trip, talk about standing out.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And even like you said, even if they're just going out there for the pleasure of it, trust me, they're going to take something away.
They will.
From that trip. Yeah, and they may not even think about it for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and then somewhere down the road, maybe somebody said, yeah, when I was in D.C., and then all of a sudden, all these memories come back to them, and like, yeah, I was there on a youth tour trip. Well, so was I.
Yeah.
It might just open up some other avenues. You just never know what life's going to bring you.
And they may not be interested in political science or working with the government in any aspect. But I'll tell you what, it's hard to go out there and go where we go and see what we see and not just have a renewed sense of patriotism. When you are standing in Arlington National Cemetery and you see the sacrifices that were made for the freedoms that you have, that in itself, it don't matter what field you want to go into. Yeah. That sticks with you, and that's why we want to get these kids out there.
Well, again, that's for juniors only. It's in the month of February. When do they have to when do you have to have them back from the schools?
We have to have the top 3 essays by March 1st.
March 1st.
We're letting each school sort of set their own deadline on when
Okay.
they want essays turned back in. Those are all going to be sometime in February, but that'll give the coordinator time to number those essays, get them to their panel of judges, and then give them time to read them and judge them and get them scored.
And the question that always comes up, how about homeschoolers? Do they qualify?
They do. So if you are a homeschooled student and you are at the junior designation, if you're designated as a junior, then you can participate just like anybody else. What you'll do is turn your essay into the school district that you would attend if you attended a public school. Okay. So if you're in Salem School District, then you would take that up and get it turned into Salem School. And then yours is numbered just like everybody else's and judged like the students that do attend the public school.
Right, very good. Don't hesitate. I would write the essay early February and get it turned in. That way you're not waiting till the
or
last
now.
minute.
Write it now.
Well, you can write it now. Have we told them the name of the essay?
Yeah. What would you, if you had
I know,
unlimited?
but I mean, was there the formal name?
The formal name.
The Heather formal name.
If you had unlimited funds,
Right.
what would you do to help your community?
Okay, so that's the essay. I know we kind of talked about that. It was kind of in our conversation.
Right. If you had unlimited funds, what would you do to help your community? And personally, I'm interested to see what these kids have to say. Do they all have very similar ideas? Are they kind of all over the place? But it'll be interesting to see if there's a really strong need for something in specific communities. You know, it's like, well, all 3 of the Salem students sort of write about the same thing. Is it something that the community's lacking that would be good? It's going to be interesting for me to read them.
Kind of something, on the ways of...
You want to share it with the local chambers, I think, afterwards. Like, hey, did you know the youth in the Salem area really are interested in
this? One of the things I know that when we start talking about like the lottery winnings and they start talking about $1 billion, and one of the things that somebody said, well, what if you won? What would you do with the money? And they all want to go buy this and buy that, and it would be interesting to see if somebody would say, so let's just say the town you live in, you win the lottery, you win $800 million. And because you have won this money, the town you're living in is failing. Would you put money back into that town to make it come back alive? Or would you just let it fail and just go on your way? I mean, is there a social responsibility to that? I don't think it's necessary, but in your heart of hearts, you grew up there. Do you want that to be a ghost town? Or do you want it to thrive? And by putting an investment, if you've got $800 million, I'm pretty sure you have a few extra funds you can put aside and help them out. Because a lot of it is just basically, as well as I do. You have old downtowns, they need renovations. They need to pick me up. The streets may need to be rebuilt. The infrastructure may need to be done. Maybe it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe even $20 million. You want 800. What's 20?
Yeah. And that's why we wanted to let the kids know unlimited.
Unlimited. And that's why I think it's a great topic, because will they look at it that way?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll find out, though.
No, we will. We find out.
Yeah.
You know what would be cool, and I know we don't do it, but wouldn't it be cool if, when we have our little get-together, that we read the winning essays?
We could.
Because, from all the schools, not just Salem, but...
Well, we've not ever shared those, but we could certainly share those online.
It's not something you couldn't share, right?
Right.
They've already been awarded the trip and things.
I don't know that people would want to listen to me read 9 winning essays.
Well, you might pick out the top 3.
Right. Or even just the ideas that they shared, the winning essays,
Well, in this area, it would be Rolla, St. James,
recap.
more than likely, or Licking, Rolla, St. James, or Licking, Salem, maybe 4 out of this area.
Yeah.
It's only 500 words. It's not going to take very long.
No, it won't.
To read it, but I think it might be good for some people to actually hear what the kids think.
Yeah.
Can we talk?
Yeah, I do.
I
do.
Hear
I think
the kid and me speak a lot.
Yeah, and that's why I said I'm interested. I'm from Licking, and so I'm really interested to see what the Licking students. What is it that our youth think our community needs? And is it something that we could make happen. And I'm sure each community is the same way. They're not going to city council meetings. They're not, are we missing something major that is just very blatantly obvious to them? And is that what they're going to write about?
Be interesting.
Yeah.
But keep that in mind. I think it would really be, I would find it interesting to see what is on these kids' minds. Mm-hmm. Because it just opens up that extra avenue of discussion. So I'm thinking, I'm not going to say we're all set in our ways, but we kind of get into a groove. Mm-hmm. We don't deviate from that groove very often, a little bit, but I can't tell you what a 16-year-old's thinking.
Right. Well, and we're in a different phase in our life than they are, and
what's important to them, mm-hmm. what's important to me, probably
they're
two whole different things. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I put my hand up for that one. So, okay.
Okay.
I get that request, and I know you have an answer to my other question I asked 2 times ago.
I do. I absolutely do.
Anyway, but the junior essay contest, it is in February. Yeah, mm-hmm. you can start writing it now if you mm-hmm. wanted to. But definitely want to make sure they get it turned in, make sure they do submit it to the right person at the school for that chance to win that trip to either D.C. or Jeff City. Top 3 get selected to go interview. So, again, it's a great opportunity. I can't even put it into words, Heather, because, gosh, I wish I'd had this opportunity when I was in school. Mm-hmm. They didn't have such a thing.
Right.
It would have been fantastic because I'd have wrote probably 10,000 words. They would have probably said, we need to trim that down.
Yeah, a lot. Trim it down a lot.
But, I mean, when you get talking about something you have a passion about, mm-hmm. it's hard to stop and put that into 250 to 500 words.
Well, and that's what the kids will tell us when they come in for the interview. Sometime while they're waiting on their turn, they'll chit-chat a little bit. And we've heard before that the kids are like, once I started writing, then I was like, I have to keep it under 500, And 250 to 500, it is really... It's easy to do.
Mm-hmm. So put that in the mind of your junior to get this done, and maybe even sit down with them and have a discussion and let them go write it right then and there. Mm-hmm. And that might be the best way. Don't put it off when you have the opportunity. If you have 15, 20 minutes to do it, that's all it's going to take. Mm-hmm. It really is, and it's going to be a benefit for the rest of their lives.
And even if they don't make top 3. They've not invested anything except for a little bit of time to write the essay. Good practice for writing skills anyway, because I'll tell you what, even if they don't go to college, writing is important.
Oh, yeah.
And we're really seeing a decline.
A very bad decline in writing skills.
So even if they don't make top 3, it's not a lost effort.
But definitely something that even if it makes them think just for 15 minutes on their own about what would I do? Mm-hmm. If I had money, what would I do with it? You'd be surprised how creative that some people can actually get putting together some ideas. So that'd be fantastic. All right, great. So if you have any questions about that, contact the Salem School. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know who's doing this anymore. So, I know Susan Jadwin used to do it, but she's kind of retiring. I don't know if she's passing on to somebody else.
If you contact our office, you can always call Intercounty. Karen has a list of all the different contact people that she has reached out to, so we can definitely get you in touch with the right person. I'm
sure if you call Salem High School's senior high office, I'm sure they know who's in charge of this anyway. Yep. But anyway... So good. Well, I hope we got everybody excited about this as we are.
I hope so, too.
Spent a half hour talking about it. But it's worth the half hour. Very good. Okay, so now the question that's been lingering for 2 months.
It has. Levelized billing.
Levelized billing for a business.
So the answer is yes, sometimes.
Yes, maybe.
Yes, maybe. We have businesses that are on residential rates. They're small commercial businesses, and
basically based out of their homes.
Or even some smaller downtown businesses. They're probably on small commercial rates. Now, if you get like I'm trying to think of one of your big factories here.
We don't have any big factories.
Well, not.
Well, let's just say
Jadwin.
Let's say Quality Machines. Okay. They use a lot of electric.
Okay. So if you have a larger user, they're on a different rate schedule. Large industrial power you require different transformers. There's a
Sure.
demand charge. If you're a larger business like that, then you cannot be on levelized billing because that demand charge is based on
Usage.
usage.
Yeah. And that makes sense.
So if you're a small commercial business, then yes, we can put you on levelized billing. That's not a problem because your bill is figured the same as a residential user. You have your usage and you have your service availability, and your usage obviously is going to be much higher than someone at their home, but your bill's calculated the same way. And as long as it's calculated based on usage and service availability, which is that daily rate, then we can set you on a levelized billing amount because we can find your average. But if you're one of those large industrial power users, say large business, your rate is based, you have an extra factor in there. You have a demand factor, and that's based on your peak demand, as you might imagine.
Sure,
so
sure.
those accounts cannot be put on levelized.
Basically, anybody on three-phase, you're out.
Yeah. Now we have three-phase small commercial.
We do, but usually with three-phase, though, you're on a demand charge.
Yeah, most of them are. But
Yeah.
there are some three-phase
There could be some
small
exceptions to that
commercial.
rule,
So
but yeah.
if that's the type of business that you are, then the answer is yes. But if you're a larger business and your bill is calculated with a demand factor, then we cannot. So yes,
Boy, you
maybe
got so educated
sometimes.
on this, didn't you?
Everyone at the co-op, let me tell you, got educated on this because we had never had that question. So had to do some
So
checking.
now you're spreading the knowledge.
Now we just know.
Now you spread it here wide on every one of your radio interviews. Now you're telling
should.
everybody.
Yeah.
But you're probably not giving me any credit.
Stan.
Stan said. Stan
said.
asked. He didn't say. He was just curious.
Yeah.
Actually, somebody else had actually asked me.
Yeah. Well, we needed.
And I didn't.
To know.
I said, really, I don't know. We've never talked about businesses, so.
Right. And we had
That's-
never had the question. So it was good. Had to get some clarification, and
So now we know.
we do.
So if you have a small business and you're on Intercounty Electric, if you want to inquire about levelized billing, and they're all up to date on the topic now.
Right. Yeah. We know that you can be on it. So.
Yeah. Give them a call. And if
Yeah.
you can find out if that might be something you'd be interested in.
Yep. We'll calculate your average and let you know what your levelized billing amount would be set at if you decided to move forward with that. And then you can, just because you call and find out what it would be doesn't lock you in that you have to participate.
But think about how your budgeting will go. If you can pretty well figure out what you're paying $158 a month through the month of 2023, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
You know you're going to pay that. Don't have and I know you might say, oh, in April and May, though, or maybe
Have
in
to
April and
pay
May, I
more.
get a lower bill because we have those nicer days. Well, yeah, but in July and August, you get a higher bill, or in February and January, you get a higher bill. You just never know. But I think it would just be a great tool for some people who are, and I'll be honest with you, Heather, I don't think people know how to budget like they used to years ago.
I would agree.
And I think there's so many, and I don't mean that in a way that they don't know how to do it. It's just there's so many other fees and factors anymore.
Right.
You look at
It's more
everything. You have these
complicated.
online fees. You've got, credit fees. You've got this fees. You've got all kinds of different fees. They show up for everything. And you're like, where the heck did that come from? So
Right.
one thing you can kind of wipe off your list as being a variable is your electric. You can make that a fixed cost for 12 months.
Right.
I think that's a pretty good idea.
And keep an eye on your bill because we keep track of your
Yeah,
actual
there'll be
usage.
an adjustment at the end.
And you can kind of see if you're in line to where you normally were or not. You don't want to get on levelized billing and think, woohoo, I can add this and that. And we talk about that with residential accounts. We added a pool and we put in an electric furnace.
Wow. And electric flooring to warm up.
Yeah. So, at the end of the 12 months, we're going to be like, oh, well, you've had some major changes in your home. We won't be able to keep you at that same amount. but we can adjust that and refigure what your amount would be over the next 12 months.
But again, it's such a great tool to use.
It is.
If for a business, and you don't have to worry about the weather. You know, how the weather's going to affect you. You know, we know that, a couple of years back in that February when everybody's, especially if you're on an electric furnace
weeks.
and stuff.
Yeah.
2 weeks, and I mean to tell you, your bill doubled or tripled in that time. And then if you're not on a levelized billing, you really get zonked on that one. Now, otherwise, this is going to carry forward and be averaged over and be able to be made up at the end of your 12 months, and then it can be recalculated. And so if your bill goes up a few extra dollars, they'll pay, and you're able to spread that out. It's great. So keep that in mind, especially the small businesses out there on Intercounty.
Right.
That's an option for you. Doubt if it's an option in the city yet. Don't think so. Pretty sure not. But it's something that I think that's a great service that Intercounty does offer. So now you're in the know. A question that you may never even have thought of. But now Intercounty has. They have an answer to that question.
We do.
Very good. We are in January. We are in a month of what we would be calling winter, though we really have had a mild one so far, except for that week in December. But people still need to be very wary of maybe taking their foot off the gas pedal and not watching to conserve energy. We get in a time like this, it's 58 degrees. I'll open my windows with my heat on. Probably really not a good idea. Shut the heat off if you're going to do that. But I've seen people do it. They open their windows and their heat is still on because the heat's not coming on.
Yeah.
Because it's a fairly nice day. You're going to get 60 degrees. Ooh, nice.
Yeah. Just be mindful of your usage. I mean, what you use is what you're billed for, and nobody likes a high bill. So just be aware of the choices that you're making in your home. And like Stan said, if it gets a little bit warm, then your heat's not going to come on. But just be mindful that
go shut your heat off.
If you've opened those windows and it cools off quickly, then the heat's running at the same time, and that's extra on your bill you're paying for that is just wasted. And so I guess just be mindful. Right. Be mindful of what you're using.
You've experienced before where you're out in the sun, it's nice and warm. Man, you're thinking, it's almost to the point of being hot. And then a cloud comes by.
And then you're cold.
And all of a sudden, the temperature drops 10, 15, 20 degrees. Not intentionally. It's not dropping. The temperature's not dropping because the wind's changing. It's just dropping because the sun is no longer beating on you. And with the winter sun being so low in the horizon, you don't get that direct overhead, so you get an angled sun. So there's not the same rays getting you as you normally feel. Your house actually is not getting a full sun like it might have been. It's kind of getting a half sun. And what I mean by a half sun is it's coming over the southern horizon, coming in, get maybe the south side of your house, and maybe even parts of your front and back of your house. But that north side, that's when you start to see the green walls.
Yeah.
And the grains start to grow because there's no sun hitting it. It can't dry out properly.
Right.
So think about that before you shut off that furnace. You might turn the furnace on. If you want to open up the drapes, don't have to open up the windows. Just open up the drapes, the blinds, whatever you might have, and do that. But if you are going to open up the doors to get in some fresh air, we know we're going to have in February. I guarantee there's going to be a 68 to 70 degree day in February.
I'm sure.
There always is. And you're going to want to open up the house. Doesn't everybody?
Right.
Turn the heat off.
There's no sense in letting it just
because it's going to go out, and as soon as that sun goes down, I'm guaranteeing you're going to lose 10 degrees quickly within an hour, hour and a half. So think about that. And you got to reheat the house up, so you don't want to have to do that. And just a little common sense doing that. Oh, I was going to ask you a question, and I forgot. No, it wasn't about levelized billing. Okay.
And we just answered it.
No. It was a
different one.
It was a different question. It'll come back to me.
Okay.
All right. So what did you want to talk about today?
I wanted to talk about Youth Tour, and we
already did that.
We did. The only other thing that I wanted to mention was last month we did mail out the capital credit checks. And those were for members who had service with us in 2002 and 2003.
Yep.
And then there were some transmission capital credits from a little bit farther back, from around 98, I think. But if you did not get a check from us, but you had service in 2002 or 2003, please go ahead and give us a call. We have a lot is, that doesn't even explain it. We have tons and tons of checks that we could not send out because we do not have good addresses. So just call us. It may be, I started service in 2003 and we're just paying out a portion of that. And you have to have a minimum of $10 before they'll cut the check. So I did not get a check this year, but it wouldn't have hurt. I mean, had I not worked at the co-op, it wouldn't have hurt me to call and say, hey, just making sure you have my right address.
And also doesn't mean if you are expecting a check, doesn't mean Intercounty hasn't sent it. Because I'm going to show you something that came back to me.
Oh my.
Oh no, this is horrible.
Well,
Not from Intercounty.
So Stan's absolutely right. Just because we mailed those back in December, I suppose does not necessarily mean that you will have already received them, but we can let you know if you haven't received a check. We can let you know what address we did send it to, and then if we need to update that address, we can get that updated. So that way we can get the check sent out to you, and all future checks will be sent to that address. But if we have the correct address on file and you still haven't received it, then yes, definitely I'd be checking with your post office, because it might be that you're missing more mail than just that capital credit check from us. Oh, it was that close the whole time.
So this is what happens to checks anymore.
Oh my.
In the mail, and I'm showing Heather this. It got shredded by the post office.
And you just got it back
I just
almost
got
a
it
month
back
later?
from the credit card company I sent it to 2 months ago.
They wouldn't accept it.
No, they wouldn't cash them, but they charge you the fee.
It looks like it's been
Burnt.
burned.
Yeah, it has. It got stuck in the machine. So instead of the post office taking responsibility and getting it back to me, they just went ahead and processed it and sent it on. It's never going to get to the destination.
Well, and it's not accept. I mean, that's a shredded check that's been taped together. I understand why the credit card company wouldn't accept it.
Well, no, I do too, but this is part of the check as well. Another check that was with this. All this was together.
Huh.
And anyway, I wanted to show that because people say, well, I sent it in the mail, and it got lost in the mail. It didn't get lost.
It got
shredded
eaten.
and burned.
Yeah, those are definitely burnt marks.
But this can happen. This
can.
can.
Yeah. But if, like I said, if you're able to call in and let us know you haven't received it, then we can verify the address that we sent it to. And if the address is right, I don't know if it would do any good to check at the post office if there's been anything returned, but you would at least know where to kind of start.
That still got processed through the post office and sent to the credit card company, and they returned it, not the post office.
The credit card company
got it in that condition. How they got it, well, you can see the
probably
address
in a
of the credit
plastic
card.
bag.
That's there, but they couldn't do anything else. I'm surprised they could get it back to me.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you're in limbo. You have no idea.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this happens more than we know.
Probably. You're probably right.
So if you don't get one and you know you've had service in 2003 and you know it was substantial.
Well, and we can tell you. We can,
right.
if you call in, we can say, oh,
Sure.
yeah, you should have received a check for $24 or whatever it might have been. We can tell if we cut you a check or not, and we can tell you where we mailed it to if it was sent out.
So follow up on it. Don't let it go.
Definitely.
You should have already gotten that check by now.
Right.
So, and then Happy New Year to you.
Right? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, party time. Yeah. All right, very good. All right, anything else? Are you done?
I'm done. We've got Roundup today, so just a reminder that, if you found yourself kind of in a tough spot and you could use a little bit of help, that's what the Roundup program's there for. We meet every month on the second Tuesday, and if you're not participating in the program and you want to be able to help others, it's really easy to sign up. What it does is exactly what it sounds like. It rounds your bill up to the next nearest dollar. Averages out to be about $6 over the course of a year, and then it goes into that Roundup fund that's used each month when we have applications received, and we're able to help people in our local communities.
Which brings to point, for those of you getting ready to do your taxes, your last statement from Intercounty will have your year-end donation.
It is tax deductible if
Yes.
you're able to itemize.
And it shows it on your form.
It does.
And now you actually have proof. You can give it to your accountant and say, look,
I
there it is.
contributed $5.79.
$6.28
Yeah.
or whatever. So there you go.
Right.
It is a record that you can show your accountant. If when you write it down, it says, well, what's $6.28? Intercounty, what'd you do there? And then you can take your bill and promptly show them.
Yep.
Operation Roundup.
It's a great program. It really is.
It is a good program. Very good. Well, Heather, we're going to let you hurry on back to Licking. I know you're anxious to get back to work.
Always.
It's a new year. You got probably new projects. You got new projects going on? Anything new?
We've kind of really been heavy on youth tour right now. We've got some ideas tossing around for Member Appreciation Day. Of course, that's not till October. I think I mentioned after that I think we're going to add St. James this year. And today, actually, we're going to be setting some dates. We got a staff meeting later today. We're going to be setting some dates for some all-employee training. And
you got a lot of meetings today.
Different stuff.
Today is...
Yeah.
And then you got to do a roundup, and then you got a staff meeting. Man, oh man, oh man.
Busy day.
Busy day.
But it'll go by fast.
Bit new year, busy day, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. And it's hard to start planning for the whole year.
It is, but we've already started talking about annual meeting. Our board's been talking about annual meeting. And a lot of our members don't think about how soon we have to start thinking about things like annual meeting.
I would say the day after you had the last one.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Last board meeting, they were tossing around ideas. Do we have any needs for proposed bylaw change? Because if we do, then we got to start talking about it soon. We got to start talking about it early so we can get the language, so we can make sure it's beneficial to our members, so that we can get that on ballots for the meeting. Just a lot of planning that goes into that. So yeah, definitely looking at the whole year. And
seen a lot of different bylaw changes with a number of different organizations, basically due to technology and electronic devices and things of that nature, where yes, and we can't hold a meeting through Zoom or by remote.
Yeah, this
last
last
Zoom, but
5 years, really, there's been a lot of advances that have just allowed for other options that the co-ops hadn't considered in the past, just because we always had the standard in-person meeting. You vote in person or you mail in your absentee ballot. So it's changed a lot, and it's changing, and we want to make sure that our members are able to participate, and that's important. So
even when you think about Smart Hub and how easy it is to report an outage or just keep your eye on your account, I mean, you think about the technology and how the good things about technology, and then you always have to change these passwords and things of that nature that banks and stuff make you change and you forget, and then they don't get back to you, and it's a mess. And it really is sometimes ridiculous in what you have to go through to try
to access.
You already access the account when you call a bank. They want to ask you 50 million questions or something like that. I'm not trying to pick on any banks, but it's just, well, you answered 3 security questions. Why don't they ask those questions? That's what I don't get. That's the security questions when you filled out this thing to start. Yeah. Grandmother's maiden name or whatever. Something of that nature.
Most of them ask.
None of them ask. They ask you for your social securities. They ask you for the different things, your bank account, and all this other stuff. If you ever call them, they never ask for those. So you got to go online to ask for that. Well, okay, the online ones keep kicking you out. You can't get it. It doesn't do you any good. So I'm thinking, why can't they ask? If I would put that in or give me a link to go answer that question so I can get back in.
Yeah.
It's just one of my gripes. I think there's so much good that technology can do, but there's so many stupid things that they do to prevent you from using it.
Yeah, and that's something at the co-op that we want to make sure we provide access to these new things and new processes, and we want to make sure that we're staying up with technology, but we want to make sure that at the root of it all, we still have a meeting you can come to in person.
Sure.
And trying to make sure that we keep a healthy blend of that. That's a challenge that our board takes on every month when they meet.
But Smart Hub does not require you to change your password. they don't send you a notice saying you're going to change your password.
Yeah,
We're
you can
locking
change
you
it
out.
if you want.
You
Yeah.
can, but I mean, but this is the kind of thing that I know they all say it's for security reasons and things of that nature, but you have passwords you put down and you may store them in a place, and then as soon as you have to go change it, now you got to go into that and you got to update that.
Update
Now
it.
that's the last thing you're thinking you need to do, because I have my passwords. I have them for my accounts, and now they're making you change them. So, or they're making it a double verification process. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
If I have my password and I have my username, why do I need to verify it again?
Well, unfortunately, scammers.
I get it.
And-
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's the hackers, not the scammers.
Yeah.
It's the hackers that get in. That's why they want the double verification, because then they can send it to your phone or whatever.
Right.
But I'm sure there's a way that they can
Oh, yeah,
you know,
I'm sure.
manipulate that too. So, you know, no matter what you do, there's always a chance that somebody can put the wool over the eyes of the technology somehow, some way, or write code that's going to go around it. But all I'm saying is, Intercounty keeps it as simple as possible. It's still a people company.
Right.
And so you can call customer service. I should say member services.
service.
Excuse me. Before you slap me, I wanted to get that out. And then they will work with you to get you the answers you need. Mm-hmm. That's not always the case. In many companies you deal with, member services doesn't exist.
Right.
And so, or company
Customer
services
service
or
or-
customer
yeah.
service or whatever you want to call it, just doesn't exist like it used to. Or you're dealing with somebody in India, and they have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All I see on your record is that you did this. Yeah, well, that's not good enough, dude.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to talk to somebody local, and that's a core part of our business, and we want to keep that. So I don't think we'll see that change anytime soon, even though technology is advancing. I think that'll always be an option that we have.
Yeah, very good. As always, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you bringing your electric vehicle over, and you're
Absolutely.
going to take it back and
Take it back and plug it
that's-
in.
Now you need just put a little solar panel on top and let the sun recharge it.
Oh, you're just full of ideas, aren't you?
Well, actually, somebody else has already thought of that,
Yeah.
putting solar panels on their
Mm-hmm.
car. And I'm just kind of wondering why. Because you're traveling and it's not going to be able to beat on it. You actually need that sun to beat on there to create your electric. It's the ultraviolet rays that actually create your energy.
Generate
So,
the energy.
yeah, so when you're moving pretty quick, you don't get too many of those.
Yeah. Well,
You get 75 down the highway. Not going to beat on there very long.
No.
And you're changing directions. Probably not going to happen very
No.
well. But, well, there's talk about it. Definitely.
Well.
I'm sure somebody's got a good idea somewhere on that. But thank you for your
Absolutely.
information on
Thank
the
you.
junior essay. Thank you for your information about businesses being able to actually
Yeah.
levelize their billing.
I know.
You're the first to hear it right here on
Right
KSMO
here.
Radio. There you go.
Good
Heather,
stuff.
as always, thanks
Thank
for coming
you.
in. We really appreciate our friends from Intercounty Electric, your member-owned and operated Touchstone Energy Cooperative. And we are going to come right back. We have for you civic happenings and weather all coming up. KSMO.
AgroLiquid is precision crop nutrition. That means being committed to product performance, to research and field testing,